All right, we are now going to take a look at how the rmmod utility works, and how the kernel kind of removes the module that we have earlier loaded from the list of kernel modules. So we typically call rmmod followed by the loadable module name, and it's typically also called, or we execute this utility with the super user privileges, right? And this is called from user space, right? So that is important. So what happens is when we call rmmod, it internally calls the delete underscore module function, which hints to the kernel that a module is being attempted to be removed. And so the control goes from user space to kernel space. Right. At this point, kernel takes over, and kernel now knows which module we are trying to kind of remove. Then the kernel executes the sys delete module function, right? And as part of this, now it does a bunch of checks. So first off, it will check if the permissions are right for the requester. If we just executed rmmod ldd without the sudo, then the kernel will be like, hey, yeah, you're requesting a removal of a module, but you don't have the permissions, so I can't do it for you. So and if anything fails here, the results go back to rmmod, and rmmod kind of fails to complete the execution, right? So it checks the permissions, and then it checks if any other modules that are already loaded, do they depend or are they using this module. So that all is checked, and after that it checks whether or not the module even exists, right? And after that has happened, after nothing has failed so far, it will go ahead and call the function that was submitted as part of a module underscore exit in the kernel, the module code itself. So what do I mean by this? So if we go here, this is essentially the function that we provided as part of module underscore exit that will be called. So this function will be called, and at what point. So let me kind of undo this, and let's go back here. So this function is essentially part of or rather this the function provided as part of the module underscore exit macro, that is the one being called here, right? And at this point, then the driver is doing calling the cleanup function and returning back, freeing up any of the space that it has requested earlier, or any of the bookkeeping logic that it had. It is just undoing all of that. It is also somewhere essentially just cleaning up, just undoing what it had done in initialization, right? And once that is done, the kernel then calls the free module procedure. And as part of the free module procedure, it will so recall that the kernel had like a linked list of modules that were active. So uh, the kernel now gets a chance to perform the process of removing that node, and as part of that, it is going to remove any references that the module was making to the kernel space, as well as the kernel space making to this module. And then after that, it sees if any other cleanup is required, there are any other references or other memory that was allocated. It'll remove all of that. Then it essentially uh, you know removes this module. It kind of unloads this module, and as part of that, it will change the state. Change the state meaning it will mark this module as unavailable, or it will mark it as going out of the list. So it essentially changes the state of that module, the variable that is tracking the state of that module. And after that, it will go ahead and kind of remove it from this linked list, the pool of the linked list elements, and then it will destroy the memory that it had originally allocated to the code for the LDD um, uh, module, right? So first off, deletes all of this, which is same as unloading or deleting the module. And then after that, whatever space it had allocated in the memory, that is gone, right? So in this way, rm module goes ahead and removes the module from the kernel, right? The space allocated for the executable code is destroyed, and that is how the module gets removed. Of course, if anything fails here, the kernel propagates the error up to the user, and the rmmod utility will kind of print something or exit with an exit code that is not zero, right? So essentially, this is how rmmod works.